morning.
Not live yet. There we go. Now.
Good evening. Good morning, depending on where you are in the world. Hello, and welcome to another episode of A Dangerous Podcast. My name is Ian Alley Seals, and I am your host, along with my fearless co-host compatriots. Sound off, everybody.
I'm John.
Stingray here.
I'm Jules. And Jason is forthcoming.
Jason is
we're told.
here.
Guys, I gotta say, that introduction, we almost nailed it right there. That was almost natural. We've spent 9 podcasts so far trying to get into a rhythm where we can all introduce ourselves in a timely fashion. That was, I'm B minus, everybody. That passes.
You know, I was kicked out of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, so I can't see how we can do anything.
Oh man, well, it was an honor. It was an honor just to get accepted.
Well, maybe we can make it up to you after class.
Oh.
Whoa.
I mean, that sounded right? Like that sounded sultry, almost like it came from the lips of an erotic sex bot.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little inspired right now.
Yeah, I always have to wonder who here in this podcast is actually a robot. And today's episode
69,000.
Like we said, the most fearless of our fearless co-host compatriots, Jason, is having some technical issues. He will be jumping in momentarily, which is good because I think we can all agree.
So please don't leave. He is coming.
Yes, everybody comes for Jason for this episode. And I think it is noticed that Jason is essentially the most eloquent of all of us. You know, Jules and I will wax poetic about Dead Weekend for 3 hours. Jason will then just come in and make a comment about Stephen Baldwin that just levels us all right here. But thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us again. This is A Dangerous Podcast where we unearth and examine movies that the world has forgotten, and most likely for a reason. And we've got a great movie, or we've got an interesting movie that we are going to talk about today. But before we get into that, how's everybody doing? Jules, John, Ray, what's been up lately? How's your week?
I'm raising puppies. Do you want to see them?
We do. Remember, the other title for this show is John's Dogs. It's the John Dog Show. For those of you who are listening to the podcast at home, John has left and he is about to bring an adorable puppy onto the screen.
It's why the podcast is an inferior medium, because you miss content like this.
Oh, and there's a puppy.
Aww.
Ray, could you please describe this puppy to the podcast listeners?
This is Ravioli.
Little rambunctious raviolis, yawning. He's got his ears floppy. He's just opening his eyes.
His eyes are open,
yeah.
Right.
Guys, can we change the entire plot of this podcast to be just John's puppies?
Right. Yep.
I think if you were to look at Facebook metrics right now, our viewership just went up about 800% every time that puppy comes onto the screen.
And my likability with the ladies just went up another 8,000%.
There was this episode of This American Life, and a relatively early one, about this guy, and it wasn't pre-internet, but it was relatively pre-internet and certainly pre-YouTube. And his whole shtick was he wanted to create a cable channel with nothing but puppies. There would be no dialogue, there'd be no plot, there would be no shows. It would just be kind of like a live cam on puppies on a couch.
That's pretty close to what the internet is. Like exactly. The internet is built around puppies and kittens doing things.
But what it really should be, honestly, what's really missing from it, there is a dearth of coverage about the patron saint of this podcast. That is a Mr. Lou Diamond Phillips. Now, for those of you just tuning in, we do this every week. The patron saint of this podcast is Mr. Lou Diamond Phillips, Lou Dime, because our very first episode, the episode that this podcast is named after, was Dangerous Touch. It was a quote-unquote erotic thriller that was written, produced, starred, directed by Lou Diamond Phillips. And so, as a way to keep the god happy, we come together every week and bring some trivia about Lou Dime. Now, Ray, I know you've got us covered today.
I
I
do.
know you brought some Lou Diamond Phillips facts, so please give it to us.
Perhaps you didn't know this, but Lou Diamond Phillips' net worth is about $6 million. Also, he turns
6 million yen.
59 tomorrow. His birthday.
Wait.
His birthday is tomorrow. He's 59 tomorrow.
Lou Diamond Phillips' birthday is tomorrow?
Yep, he's an Aquarius.
Damn, I didn't get him
We
anything.
gotta call him.
Well, we're dedicating this podcast to him.
That's guys. Jules, tell me you got a card. Did you, John? Did you get a card?
Not for him.
Oh, can we? I am totally embarrassed now.
We gotta
get. We gotta.
The thing about birthdays, though, is you can always stop at the gas station and get an Amazon gift card or
That's
one
true.
of those things. Those last minute things.
What do we think? $20 or 10?
15.
I mean, he's worth $6 million. So I mean, whatever.
Yeah, but those gift cards, they're always useful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all right.
He's just going to use it watching Dangerous Touch on Amazon Prime.
So we're just giving money back to that film, which I feel
Right
good
to
about.
him, right.
So all right, everybody. Afterwards, I'm going to stop at 7-Eleven and I'm going to get a $15 gift card. 15 for Lou Dime. Okay. So all right,
Maybe
everybody.
59 since he's turning 59, like $1 for every year.
I don't have that kind of money to give to Lou Diamond Phillips.
$5.90.
All right. A $5.90 Amazon gift card for Lou Diamond Phillips is in the mail. If we can find out his mailing address. Does anyone have the copy of his autobiography? Because it might stay in the back. Cheryl says hi. Hey, Cheryl.
Hiya, Cheryl.
Hi, Cheryl.
So, Ray, thank you for letting us know that it is Lou Dime's birthday tomorrow. Everybody, happy birthday, Lou Diamond Phillips.
Happy
You
birthday.
have 59 more. Jules, what do you have for us today?
In terms of facts,
Yes.
I tried putting his name in an anagram maker online, but it broke. So I don't really have anything.
Oh.
I was just going to give a Lou Diamond Phillips anagram.
I'm
I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel here.
Guys, it's not hard. John, what have you got? What have you got about Lou Diamond Phillips?
No, I'm on Team Jules. I mean, fuck this guy.
Whoa!
I'm not doing this. I'm not participating in this anymore. I'm not.
Wow.
There's nothing left about him. What's up, Guido? Guido knows
buddy.
what's up. No, he tweets about his fucking cats. Fuck him. I'm sick of this.
Okay.
I mean,
what's
even if
amazing here is
anybody who tweets about their cats.
I have cats, John. I have cats.
You tweet about them?
I probably have at some point.
You haven't. No, you haven't.
In any case, every week John says I fall more and more in love with Lou Diamond Phillips, and
I know.
I'm
it's
not
gotten to the
denying
point where
that.
you're like
Every
defending
week,
him.
every week,
One of these
John
days you're gonna
more. What do you hate about Lou Diamond Phillips?
One of these days you're gonna. Your love is developed. We're watching. It's basically what we're watching develop. That's the character development in this podcast, is watching you fall in love with him. One of these days you're gonna hit me. No, one of these days, like you're gonna hit me for something I said about Lou Diamond Phillips. I know it. I see it coming.
At the time when we're recording this together, after pandemic.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I do have a factoid, and it has to do with things John has said. So here's a fact. Now, every week, John will body shame Lou Diamond Phillips by saying he's slim as a postcard. And this does play into that particular body shaming. Here's the deal. When he played, maybe his most famous role, second most famous role, I would say his most famous role is Chavez in Young Guns, but it could very well be topped by Richie Valens in La Bamba, his star-making role. They made him put on 15 pounds before he could play Richie Valens.
You know how much he
Not
weighed
making it
before?
up.
You know how much he weighed before
It
he
doesn't
came?
say how much he weighed before, John.
He weighed negative 13 pounds.
He had to put on 15 pounds to play Richie Valens and learn to play the guitar. He did both of those in that film because he's a professional. So, everybody.
Oh. No body shaming on this podcast.
Yeah,
okay?
this is.
He's not wrong.
It's okay when it's done to men. It's okay. That's the way it works.
I don't think you're ready for John's jelly.
Jelly, my jelly.
All right, let's. Things have gotten a little personal here.
It's all in good fun.
All bodies are beautiful. There's advantages to all body types.
A lot of advantages to Lou Diamond Phillips.
Even though I said his date with Julia Roberts ended early because he blew away. Augusta Winfield.
Julia Roberts
doesn't mean he's not a good Whataburger supervisor. I'm sure he's great.
Shift leader.
Right.
Shift leader.
Cat tweeter. Shift leader.
So Lou Diamond Phillips, if you're listening once again, I apologize for John and happy birthday. But we're not here to talk about Lou Diamond Phillips. We just devote it's almost like a tithe, like a religious tithe that we do to appease, the internet gods.
Wouldn't it be horrible if he noticed, though? It'll be horrible if he notices. I really don't want that to happen.
I had a thought, guys. Because last week we really talked about the actress who played Amanda Grace. What's her name again? For In Dangerous Touch.
Oh yeah, Kate Vernon. Kate Vernon, yeah.
Vernon. And I had this image in my head that one day Kate Vernon would be on the podcast, and I think none of us would have any idea what to say to her. I would feel so embarrassed.
No, we could just talk about Battlestar Galactica instead, I guess, and then also beforehand check and see if she has horror stories about working on Dangerous Touch.
Like what would
that seems
happen?
like a show. That seems like a show.
John, like I can imagine John talking to Kate Vernon and saying like, "So God, your performance was so fucking terrible." What's Kate Vernon gonna say to John?
Well, that's what we would find out. I mean, if I ask her that,
I think
you want to give her. All I would be doing is giving her an opportunity to answer the question that people want to know.
Everybody's clamoring.
Why was she so terrible? I don't. Maybe she knows. Maybe there's a reason. I don't know. That's why you ask.
Okay, so here we are. And the film that has been brought to us this week was brought to us by Ray. And Ray, please tell us this film and why you chose it.
So, I'm a big fan of Melanie Griffith. I thought she was a fairly empowered woman in this. She's hired to do a job, and she gets the job done. Or, she would have if it weren't for the main protagonist being like...
Hold on.
Wait, what is the name of the film? What film are we reviewing this week?
Cherry 2000.
Cherry 2000.
And it's not a porn. That's important to know. It's not a porn. Because if you type in Cherry 2000, you see a long list of porn movies. Somebody should have told me it was not. I mean, I had to watch a lot of pornography to realize.
I mean, listen.
You had
watching the wrong Cherry 2000.
You type one letter or numeral wrong in this, it's going to take you on a whole different path. If it's Cherry with an I, it's a whole lot of porn.
And maybe it's just my own algorithm. And maybe like I'm a normal person.
Like the internet, when John is typing
what you
Cherry,
want.
Right.
Yeah, when
I type C, it goes Cherry Licorice 2069.
I like this movie because it reminds me of like Blade Runner meets like Mad Max. Like I just have a little bit of a crush on Melanie Griffith in this movie. Like I don't know. I just, it's all about her.
Okay.
In this
I
movie.
gotta say,
Mhm.
and I'm sorry, I keep jumping in. I know I'm a loudmouth. This, I was when I was watching. This is like the Ray Caldwell story. I mean, this is like the Ray.
Yeah.
I actually asked her. I was like, I was with her when the part where they're like hanging from the car, and we'll get to all that. They're hanging in the thing.
Sure.
And we went on a date this weekend. I was like, does this happen on your date? Just like, I just see Ray as this Ray.
Yeah, like where I'm out on a date with a guy and he like all he can talk about is his ex. Yeah, that's totally every single date I've ever been on.
We talk about Ray's
You
dating
can
life.
be with a real
so
girl
much.
who's right next to you, or you could just talk about your ex. Let's just talk about your ex.
I do want to bleed into the show Ray's dating life because it's so interesting. As much as she'll allow, I do try to push that in a little bit because it's really interesting.
Well, she has a mystery date like stalker at this point.
That's what I'm saying, right? And
Yes,
it
fits
it
in.
seems
I don't mean
I
to.
did
I don't mean to encourage this
surprise,
behavior, but I am. I guess.
perfumes this past weekend.
did you find out if that was from him?
It was not from him.
Oh,
That was the guy that I went on a date with.
Scandalous.
Yeah,
Was
I have a few suitors right now. I have been vaccinated, Pfizer vaccine, second vaccine. So
that's so sexy, Ray.
I'm out there. I'm out there and I'm putting myself out there, you know?
So if somebody's watching this and would like to get a hold of you, I mean, do you have like?
Can we throw our phone number up in the?
I don't want to say.
No.
You just want to like say if somebody wanted to text you.
I
Do you want
have-
to give your cell
My
phone number?
dance card is full.
Can they visit you at work? Do you want to say where you work? And
No,
maybe they can stop by.
definitely not. Definitely not.
All right.
There's going to be skywriting outside of.
Just making sure.
Over the Northeast.
Could be a great guy out there, and I wouldn't want you to miss him.
I do like the way that you've contextualized this movie, though, Ray. That it's essentially a date movie. It's like it's the answer.
This is a Ray date movie. It's not a date movie.
Yeah, this is
It's a Ray date movie.
Like if you could encapsulate my date, my every single date, it's like Cherry 2000.
Right.
Okay, so let's get into this, everybody. Let's get into this. So,
But like, Ray, have you ever brought a guy? Have you ever like watched a movie with a guy and you'd be like, "Hey, you want to hang out and watch a movie?" And then you like take him to your house and you put this movie in? Because I would think it would be like a warning.
I know. The weirdest movie I've ever watched with a new guy started dating that should have been a big red flag and should have like run the other way was Boxing Helena. Have you?
Oh
ever seen that
God!
movie? And I was like, and that guy was super controlling. So, don't date a guy who watches that movie with you. That's a really bad film.
Weird.
Maybe I'll recommend that one of these weeks. But
No, it's not.
Cherry 2000. No, I actually watched this post my last breakup, and it comforted me somehow. Like Melanie Griffith understands what it's like. She gets it. Gets me. These guys, they can't see the real thing right in front of them. They gotta just like fantasize about the unattainable because they have commitment issues. You know,
Okay,
it's easier to commit to a robot.
Let's put a pin on that because we need to get back to that because it's
Right. People don't know what we're talking
about.
Okay. And I am putting a pin in that because I have some thoughts on that particular.
Yes.
There's going to be a lot of analyzing here.
First of all, this is a dystopian post-apocalyptic sci-fi film, which is apparently our entire wheelhouse here on Dangerous Cut. That's like 80% of our films so far.
Yes.
Now, this movie starts in the futuristic Anaheim, California of 2017. And as Jules remarked earlier, he misses those days of 2017.
I do.
So,
it was a better time.
It was made in like 1987, right, or something, or
was this 80s?
God, yeah. What we can't even remember what year it was.
It screamed 70s to me, but it was most likely 80s, right?
Yeah, it was.
So Jules is looking this up. Well, so
1987.
Oh,
yep,
80,
there we go.
87?
Yeah.
Wow. It just seems so much older. But anyway, it opens in a scene where a young, handsome executive who I sweared to God when I first saw it was played by Don Johnson. Was I the only one who thought this was Don Johnson?
No, it's just because Don Johnson was married to Melanie Griffith. That's why you're thinking
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Like before
Here's the
Antonio
thing.
Banderas?
That's why you thought that. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the thing with that is her character's name is Johnson. The lead male, his real name is Johnson. And Melody Griffith was married to Don Johnson.
Okay. But this character, whose name is Sam Treadwell, who's a young, good-looking executive kind of type, it seems, is played by David Andrews, not Don Johnson. Okay, we've come to the bottom of that.
I mean, David Andrews expresses how generic a guy this is. I mean, he's just like, this guy cannot carry a movie. I mean, he's not the lead. I mean, you know what I mean? He's like, he's like the rival love interest. He's the ex-boyfriend. He's not the guy you're supposed to be following for a whole movie.
Yeah, he's the swarmy executive villain.
Yeah, something like that.
Executive movie.
This is a bizarre casting decision.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't feel much attachment to this guy.
This is the guy. Hold on. This is the guy, correct me if I'm wrong, everybody, who would have been one of the guys sexually harassing Melanie Griffith in Working Girl.
Yes.
I could see it.
And for all we know, he is.
But he's not that here. He's a love-struck executive, and he's in love with a robot. He comes into his home, and there's a beautiful blonde woman there who has dinner ready for him, and he's talking all about his day over at the recycling plant, and he's telling her interesting tidbits that, rust is an electrochemical reaction. And that kind of freaks her out for some reason. And then his wife, his girlfriend, his love interest, Cherry, goes to the fridge and pouts for some reason. And then Treadwell, moves down, comforts her, and says, Cherry, what's wrong? And she says, kiss me. And then they kiss, and then they start rolling around on the kitchen counter while the dishwasher, this kind of bulbous, the dishwasher kind of thing starts.
What's fascinating about this is that in 2017 they have worse dishwashers than we did in 1987 because they just spill out onto the floor, just suds everywhere.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
kind
she
of like
overloaded the dishwasher because she was upset about what he said.
Is that what it was? Maybe, but it doesn't change the fact.
Attention. I'm just kidding.
But it doesn't change the fact that the dishwasher has like a air popcorn popper top to it, which starts to be pouring out of.
And the dishwasher is representative of the Cherry 2000's emotional state.
Okay. Cherry 2000 does not have emotional states. We'll get to that. So anyway, they're making out, they're tearing off each other's clothes. They're rolling around the suds in an apparently erotic fashion. I don't know. Was this hot to anybody? Ray?
Who would admit it?
Yeah, me. I'll
I'm just saying. Except
John was turned on.
No, it was.
Good. It did its job. We finally had a scene in about 8 different erotic films that we've done that John thought was kind of sexy.
So, we did it, everybody.
2000.
So they're rolling around in the suds, and then she shorts out, and you go, "Oh my stars! She's a robot." Okay, she's Cherry 2000. Everybody, she's a robot. And then Treadwell is very saddened by this. He's like, "Oh no, oh man, oh." So then the next scene.
That's good. That was very good.
Oh, do we have Jason coming in here?
Whoa, I think something's happening.
Oh, no. Oh, we just have
we got excited. I thought it was Jason.
In fact, it was Melanie. So he goes to the robot repair store, and there's this kind of sketchy looking dude who I actually thought was a nice guy. Did anyone think the robot repair guy, he was very empathetic. He was a nice guy. He's like, yeah, man, this robot, she's busted up. You got water all in here. There's damage and stuff. I thought the practical effects of opening up the robot and seeing the disgusting kind of robot innards, I thought that was a good shot. Anybody else? I thought it was fine.
I thought it was great how
What's that, John?
Speaking for myself here, I was particularly fond of the Barbie 14.
Barbie 14 was a good model, and he sold that well. Oh yeah. So after he said,
I don't understand the name, or was it the Bambi 14?
Was it Bambi? I don't remember.
I don't know.
But to explain what's happening there, he explains that this Cherry 2000 model, first of all, they don't make them like this anymore. This was a top of the line model, great physicality, great responses, almost like the real thing.
I would say that this is if we ignore the dishwasher.
Yep.
This is the first of many bizarre world building decisions that are made in this film that I guess is why people like it, because it's just a weird idea to be like, oh, there are like sex robots there, and there are no other robots. And the sex robots are just not good anymore. They used to be great, and now they suck. It's just a weird dramatic decision. It's a weird rational decision. I mean, it's just weird world building is what I'm saying, and that just goes on. Yes, so I'm saying I'm just making a point of pointing out that this is the first in a series of bizarre world building decisions.
Good things can't last, forever.
But also, I mean, is what they're trying to show is that this is a completely decaying world and there's nothing new being produced? Is that what they're trying to go for?
I don't think that they thought any of it through. I think that they thought that was a weird thing that kind of, there was something compelling about that, and that was enough to just put it in. I don't think that it adds up too much. I think. What were you gonna say, Ray?
Well, the whole dating scene seems pretty lame. Like people are having to display themselves and sign contracts for what they're like.
Contracts negotiated by Lawrence Fishburne. There.
Yeah, Lawrence Fishburne.
Hold on.
Oh yeah, we're skipping ahead.
So there are a few important data points here that we need to get out of the way because they affect the whole movie. So when talking to the robot repairman, he asks, "How is her chip?" And he's like, "Oh, her chip is fine." And then he pulls out from behind her ear this little mini laser disc about the size of a quarter. And he says, "It's got everything on her most recent memories, all of her personality. You'll be fine. Throw this into any model you want." And then he shows Treadwell a number of other models. The Bambi model, who's kind of a sex kitten. And then a secretarial model, who's also like a secretary sex kitten. But
no, they actually implied that wasn't a sex.
He said yes.
It wasn't. There was no sex involved there at all.
Yeah, he says below the waist, it's a no man's land.
Yeah, they're so bad at it that they forgot that part.
Yeah, but it is still a super hot model, and they show a few more models, and he's like, "I don't want any of them." And is it in this scene where he explains where to go get the new model, or do we get that in a flashback?
We get that. Yeah, that is put in. I can't describe how that worked. It was weird because it just kind of shows up. It seemed like a flashback. It was in a series of flashbacks, and then they just show a scene of him talking to the guy, being like, "Go out to the desert, and I'll have one."
But we'll get to that.
I mean,
so Treadwell goes to work, and he works at a recycling plant, and pretty much everybody there, like it's just lines and lines of people with shopping carts, just recycling all of their goods. I don't know what they're trying to say there. It's an interesting kind of thing, but I don't really know what it means. And he has some kind of goofy friends who are like, "Come on, man, let's go hit the clubs. Let's hit the bars. I know your robot broke. Don't be sad. You can have sex with real women." And he's like, "Fine. You know what? Let's do it." And so they go to the suggestively named club. Does anyone remember what the club was? Glue or something like that. Yeah.
Glue Club.
Glue. Yeah. Oh yeah, like
so they go to Club Glue, and And so Treadwell is there, and he meets an ex-girlfriend, like Charlene or something. I forget what her name was. And they talk, and Charlene is really angry at him because he
That was
left
an
her.
ex-girlfriend? Wow.
That was his ex-girlfriend, yeah. So then there's a girl who tries to pick him up, and then we get the whole weird Anaheim dating scene. Can someone explain this to me? How does this work? This is what and I just watched the movie. But go to
me too.
a spherical television set, and the girl who's hitting on him puts in a like USB drive or something.
The implication there, as best I can tell, was that at the club you show sex tapes to people so that they'll sleep with you or something.
Yeah,
and like, hey, check it out. Look how good I am at this.
Yeah, so she showed him her sex tape of some guy named Steve. She's like, I think his name was Steve. I met him here last week. And he's like, oh, well, that looks fun. And then
it was just a bizarre rotating hologram of two people awkwardly, stiffly groping at each other or something.
Yes.
That was sort of a, yeah.
And so then she says to Treadwell, well, do you have something to show me? And he's like, sorry, my card expired. And she's like, what? You just wasted my time, asshole. And then storms away. Now, what is going on with Lawrence Fishburne there? Can someone, this is
everything is going on.
I didn't get it.
I wish Lawrence Fishburne had more of a pivotal.
First of all, he looked so cool.
He looked so good.
He looked amazing. Right.
Lawrence Fishburne should have been the main male protagonist in this film.
Yeah, he had this kind of flashy suit on. He had these round glasses that looked kind of like mine, except had like glowy stuff all around it. Or maybe that was
he's literally the sexiest man in this film.
He looked like $1 million.
By a lot. Yeah, no, he really looked like $1 million.
It's really
and knowing him, I'd be pushing this movie more than I push The Matrix. He looks fantastic. He did a great job in The Matrix, but he looked phenomenal in this movie.
He just has it together, but I think he's like the lawyer at the bar that like oversees the contracts between couples.
You know what, guys?
Can you explain that a little bit more?
Can we admit that? He's a cool
it's like it'd be like strictly no blowjobs on this date, and like the guy would be like, "Do you agree?" Okay, but you have to like you're paying for dinner or something. I don't know.
Right? Where is this coming from?
I'm just saying they have to negotiate aspects of the date that they don't want to participate in. That's all I'm saying.
There's in fact a great Kids in the Hall sketch about that. Does anyone remember that one where it's the lawyers arguing over dates? And like, where one of them's like, "All right, listen, I accept that there's going to be no planned sexual activity, but your client needs to have 4 belts of scotch."
Exactly, and I think that's totally reasonable, Ian, and I would really agree with that. But no, so like that's what Lawrence Fishburne is basically negotiating is like.
Yeah.
You know, is this first date going to end in intercourse? Is it, you know, what is expected from this date? Everything is like all super contrived, and it's seems kind of stale. And like, you watch previous videos of like people hooking up with other people, which is fucking weird as hell. Like, it's just like it seems really like under the microscope, and it takes all the romance and spontaneity out of the whole thing.
Sure does.
You're making me realize maybe that was the point, was that he thought that the robot was more romantic, because that didn't make any sense. Throughout the entire movie, he talks about the robot being very romantic, romantic, and I'm like, and that's kind of the challenge that the movie has to overcome, which it doesn't, is explaining why he gives such a big...
Well, it kind of does here in this scene, because it's like...
Okay, yeah, that did not occur to me. That did not occur to me.
I mean, if I could find my own version of a Cherry 2000 male robot, I mean, would I be dating anymore? Probably not.
So let's say you did. Would that be called a Banana 2000?
Yes. 100%.
Giving this a lot of thought.
100%.
Everybody note down for Ray's Christmas list.
Banana 2000.
There you
Banana
go.
Hammock 2000.
Now, at this point, Treadwell has a montage where he's reminiscing about Cherry 2000. And this gets rectified in later montages, but I'm going to personalize this for a second. My senior film that I did in college, there at the end, it is actually a romantic comedy, and written by a actually very famous now screenwriter. But in any case, I didn't necessarily do that film any justice. But at the end of the movie, there's a moment where the main character realizes he's in love with the woman who's been next to him the whole time. You know the trope. It's in every movie we do. But anyway, and so I had to do a montage of scenes.
Hey, it's Reggie. Hey.
Hi, Reggie.
Hey, Reggie. So, but anyway, we had to do a montage of shots of this woman, of just a collection of them, you know, set to flowery music to let him realize, oh, I'm in love with this girl. But the problem is the movie's like 14 minutes long. So I only have 5 scenes. So like we're reminiscing from the scene 3 minutes ago. And I've always felt really self-conscious about this until Cherry 2000. Because in this
They do that. They do it.
He does his montage of reminiscing about Cherry. They're only the scenes we've seen so far. So he reminisces talking to her at dinner and kissing her and rolling in the suds. And I'm like, oh, that's all we've shot with Cherry so far. Got it. So anyway, I found it amusing and it made me feel better about myself.
Hey, could I ask, and I want everyone's opinion here. Could we pause for 1 second for those who haven't seen the movie? I have the trailer set up ready to go. Would you mind if I played the trailer so everyone's
play the trailer? Play the trailer.
Give Jason more time to join us.
It's only an hour late now. We'll see how well this works. Here's a guy. Nothing's playing yet. Loading.
Cherry 2000, everybody.
Cherry 2000.
I'd like to note that the technology in Cherry 2000 works better than the playback technology we have now.
So I can see this little streamer thing on the bottom move, but nothing's happening.
Okay. So in any case,
right. Well, that was fun.
Well, we may try it. We may try it in a minute. So, but this is important right here because then we cut at the end of this flashback, we cut back to a scene between Treadwell and the robot repairman, where the robot repairman says, "Listen, I know where you can get a vintage body of a Cherry 2000, a vintage chassis. It's over in Sector 7. You can go to the Glory Hole town, hire up a tracker."
Wait, I got to stop you there.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I remembered very well: Glory Hole Hotel.
Oh, the Glory Hole Hotel. But I thought it was the name of the town too.
It is.
It could be.
It was. But he says, yeah.
And John, needless to say, has made reservations.
That's where I was born. It's my hometown. I used to play for the Glory Hole.
That was where John. That was where John's wedding party stayed. But at the so he says, go to the Glory Hole Hotel, hire a tracker. They can head into Sector 7 and get a Cherry 2000. He says it'll be hard. Good luck, buddy. And so Treadwell takes a shotgun, a bandolier of shells, gets in his three-wheeler, his yellow three-wheeler, and he heads down to Glory Hole, Arizona. So at that point, Treadwell goes into I'm not a video gamer, but this really reminded me of a proto like Fallout town. Like there's that video game Fallout that's set in the post-apocalypse. That's what this kind of felt like. This post-apocalyptic Western town.
No, it seems like everybody. It seems like there's something about post-apocalyptic Vegas that is planted probably here. This is the first depiction of
Maybe. I mean, there are a lot of
Nevada. Something about that because, well, I guess they eventually go to Vegas, don't they? At the end,
do.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. So I'm just saying, like, there's something about that. But
yeah, I don't think it was put here though. Like, there's a lot of
no.
First of all, apocalypse in the desert is a pretty regular thing. You know, starting with Mad Max. There's a little known film called Boy and His Dog. That's also a sci-fi.
Don Johnson. Speaking of Don Johnson. Speaking of Don Johnson. Cherry 2000's ex-husband.
John, if we could get a side-by-side shot of David Andrews and Don Johnson, and if we can get that up here, I want to be vindicated.
That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work.
Sam Treadwell in the film.
Yes, Sam Treadwell. So Sam Treadwell he goes to the Glory Hole Hotel, this post-apocalyptic Western hotel, and he checks himself in. And the Asian woman who's running the hotel, that was a very Blade Runner costume decision. Like, you know, she had this hat with this like hanging black veil with danglies on it, and
I love it.
It was the most futuristic costume in the film.
But in terms of weird world-building decisions, what I'm saying is that they just made the decision to put a cat in a water jug, which as an attempt to make it like weird and futuristic, was that there's a cat in a water jug for no reason.
Yeah.
And it's just like that's just how arbitrary all of this is.
Yeah, that screamed very Barbarella to me. Honestly. But anyway, so he's there. He's like, I want a room. And she says, no robots. We have plenty of Marilyns and Janes and rocks here. So you don't need to bring in any of your own robots. And he's like,
well, no, they had a deadline. That's what was weird. Again,
weird
world building.
No
it was like
11, right?
After 11, bring all the robots you want before then. But after that, forget about it. You're stuck with the hotel robots.
Yeah. So they go up, and so he goes up, he goes in his room. And like you said, Jules, there's some guy like angrily coming out of another room with a robot woman, and he puts her down going, on the fritz again. You know, nobody puts
he said they just don't make them like they used to.
They don't make them like they used to. Nobody has any sense of craftsmanship. So we have that established that like sex robots just ain't what they used to be.
It's true.
And so so Treadwell is he's now got to go hire himself a tracker, and he sees a sign for E. Johnson Tracker. I never say no. And so he goes into the tracker's office, and this is really kind of set up to be like a classic hire a private eye scene. He kind of walks in, and then out of a couch, a woman pulls a gun on him and says, what are you doing here? And he's like, I'm hiring a tracker. I'm looking for E. Johnson. Do you know him? And she's like, of course I know him. I'm E. Johnson. And he's like, you, a woman? And it's young Melanie Griffith. Melanie Griffith with Ray. Can you describe your dream woman here? What?
She dyes her hair a cherry red color, which is the color I dyed my hair in high school. Most often, even though I am a natural redhead, I was like, I could be redder. And you know, she's got like, you know, those beautiful blue eyes of hers, and she's kind of got like a ripped up like Letterman jacket / like motorcycle jacket. She tends to wear a lot of red. Kind of wears like these like tight, ripped off, like cut off sleeve, like as was, you know, popular in the 80s, like kind of chopped off shoulders, kind of like almost like a princess, like cut like but in a t-shirt and like her tight jeans, and you know, she's 100% a real woman, you know,
100%. Except
I don't think she wears a bra the whole movie.
Does not.
And no one's complaining.
No, but Ray, it wasn't a wig.
No, definitely not.
Really?
No, that's her hair. You could tell it's too healthy, and like, no, she's just dyed it for the film.
Okay,
yep.
Cool. I swore it was a wig.
No.
Oh, thank you, John. Thank you.
Wow. All right.
If anybody is if you're listening on the podcast, John has just thrown an infographic up of a side-by-side comparison of David Andrews and Don Johnson. Pretty similar, everybody. Pretty similar.
So that's Don Johnson from A Boy and His Dog.
Okay. So was this an elaborate ruse to get like Melanie Griffith to leave Don Johnson for that guy? Was this some sort of plan that would explain everything, that would make this make more sense?
You really think it took that much?
I mean, she was married 3 times and she ended up with Antonio Banderas. So
Ganarso just threw a comment on, which is absolutely true. The exotification of Asians was a staple of cyberpunk genre in the 80s. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because I mean, it's kind of like that's all they got going for them there. Was like, it's an Old West hotel. Oh, but there's Asians in it,
and they're dressed.
Yeah, you know, that's all that's happening.
Man, if they had people with popped collars, like dress shirts with popped collars, it would have been all over.
And I also think that like Asian culture, you know, kind of represented like futuristic concepts. I mean, a lot of our in the 80s in particular, all of our a lot of our technology was built in Taiwan, right? I mean, it's just and I mean, what's the country that's like the top producer of technology today? Like Seoul.
Taiwan does most of our microprocessors.
Yeah. So I mean.
Yeah. So everybody, next week our next film is 1980 Michael Keaton vehicle Gung Ho.
Wow. No, it's not. Jules.
No. I'm not doing Gung Ho.
And I'm dreading. I'll just say I'm dreading the end of this show when he announces his next. I mean, I've been preparing myself all week.
And you should. Because
okay, so anyway, guys, John, let's stave that off by indulging in Cherry 2000. So at this point, Treadwell spills the beans in the job to Melanie Griffith. He says, "All right, Johnson, here's the deal. I want this model, Cherry 2000. I want you to go into Sector 7, bring her back. I'm going to pay you a boatload of money." And she's like, "All right, we leave tomorrow at sunset." And he says, "What? I'm not going with you. The job is you go and get it." She's like, "I need someone riding shotgun. You have no idea how dangerous it is. It is going into
what the hell was that?
Lazy.
You imagine like hiring somebody. It's like, yeah, I'd like a large pizza. You'd be like, okay, put on this apron, and I need somebody to help me.
Listen, I just need you to throw the toppings on. Just throw the toppings on.
I need somebody to help throw the toppings on. I can't do all this by myself.
Listen, that oven's really hot. It's really hot.
Yeah, I need backup here.
Yeah.
But what was that?
She specifically says, "I'd rather chew razor blades than get caught in Sector 7 in the daytime. I'd like to know they spend almost the entire film in Sector 7 in the daytime."
Yes, I don't understand what that decision was supposed to be adding up to at all.
So I'm gonna start burning through this film till we get to
let's go. Yeah.
So Johnson turns her down. He's like, I'll get a real tracker. I don't need any of this nonsense. So he goes to the bar. He tries to hire a tracker, and he tries to hire this guy, Six-Fingered Jake. Where did we hear the name Six-Fingered Jake? Did anybody? I don't know. He says, I want to find Six-Fingered Jake, and everyone goes, Six-Fingered Jake is dead. And then, so then he's talking to some trackers. They're like, well, we got to check with Jake. And he's like, I thought Jake is dead. He's like, well, people think he's dead. And so they take him outside, and then they hold him up at gunpoint. He's like, we got to tell you, Jake's dead, but we're going to take all your money, and you have a chip for Cherry 2000. We want that chip. There you go. And then somehow Treadwell gets the slip. You know, he beats him up. Yep.
Yeah, he's kind of wily.
This is the problem. This is the problem with this movie. He's inexplicably good at fighting. I do not understand it.
He is.
He's inexplicably good at it. So you expect him to be naive city boy in the Old West Tavern being taking advantage of these people, but no, he can just take them out. It's just like he's
wily, but yeah, he's kind of
it's just like why? He's a manager of a recycling plant. What the hell?
They establish it later.
They don't, because he flies. We'll get to that.
Okay. Later on, we do find out he fought in the border wars.
In the plane.
Oh, well, anyway. Okay.
What?
Are we now debating the military career?
Yeah.
I'm calling him out. This is stolen valor.
He is really good at fighting.
Sam Bone Spurs Treadwell.
I was impressed. I was like, for the little guy, he really knows how to throw down. Like,
yeah. So he gets the slip on these guys. He runs out. He sees E. Johnson, Melanie Griffith, at a tarp covered car, and he's like, "Guess what? You got the job." And she says, "I thought so." And she pulls off the tarp of, I'm gonna say, the best car that we have had in all of our films here.
I knew you would like it for that reason.
I know. I was watching this. I'm like, somewhere Ian is like sitting there with a boner looking at that car.
I'm not
just loving that. He is loving that car.
I will say it is the best car that we have had in all 9 films we've watched so far. And all of these films have featured some cars. My big criticism last week of Mystery Date was that it desperately wanted the 59 DeSoto to be this character in this film. And I just really didn't think they pulled it off. And they do in this film. The Melanie Griffith's Ford Mustang, her post-apocalyptic Ford Mustang, I think is super cool. Especially when, and here's a little trivia. I told it to everybody earlier. I didn't notice this in the film, but the film starts with her Mustang is the 1964 and a half Ford Mustang. Later on in the film, it will switch up to the 1966 Ford Mustang, and then at the Sky Ranch scene, it'll switch back to the 64 and a half. No matter what, it's a cool car. I like it. I like when you get inside the car, the tech modifications that they've got in there. Like, it's this weird. Jules, can you describe how does the car work?
What do you? I tried to figure that out, but they wanted to make it different than a real car. It's not obvious, other than there's like an insane amount of dials and knobs.
Yeah,
that you can hit, and then you can just hit like it's like the whole car is nothing but like turbo boost from Knight Rider or something. It's just like she flips a switch and then the car goes or something. I did not make any sense of what was happening there.
This is the thing that everyone in this podcast would normally hear me bitch about, and I love it. You've got all of these dials in this car that like randomly do junk. Like, she has a dial and she starts twisting it and the engine starts revving. Like, like vroom, vroom. And then there's this what would be like a stick shift that she kind of just starts pulling back, and the car engine just starts revving more. It's just like every button makes the engine rev. I thought it was awesome. No sense. And
I'm not saying it's not awesome. I'm just saying I did not make any sense of it. I cannot outline how this worked to our listeners and viewers.
Yeah. Now, and so then she pulls back and talking about, like, if you're going to do something science fiction and you just have a bunch of weird junk in a vehicle, and if you're going to create a sense of suspense and interest by just using sound, I think that was a really clever way to do it. Like, Melanie Griffith has this kind of stick shift that she's pulling back gradually as the engine gets louder and louder and louder. Yeah. And like, I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know what it's going to, but I thought that was kind of cool. And then she hits a button and the car just goes.
In terms of the fakery that we're doing in our own car movie, I did think that it was clever and cheap the way they did that, because essentially kind of like you just hit a button and they just show it going at full speed, and that's the cheapest thing in the world to do, and hats off to them.
And then there was this thing that I really liked, and it didn't turn out to pay off the way I wanted it to. There are a few things in Cherry 2000 that are like that, but one of them, so they're in there and you've got all these dials and everything, and the windshield is completely black, and Treadwell says to her, "How do you drive this thing?" And she says, "By feel, mostly." And he says, "Feel?" She says, mostly. Now, I thought what they were saying there was like that if we looked, the entire windshield was covered. That like you couldn't even see out the windshield, and that she was driving based on like sonar scanners and everything like that. No, they never come back to that line because in daylight.
No. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Well, I mean, every button makes it rev, so that tells you something.
There you go. So they're driving. They're going for a while. They're heading all out there. And then they take a pit stop at it's a rock quarry, right? That's what that was.
You skipped over. They had to go through the people who are bored and just shoot at you with flamethrowers.
So they get to the
just to go. Yeah. There's barricades.
And she says, Treadwell, put on this helmet. And he's like, you're not going to wear one. She's like, it'll mess up my hair. That's a cool line. And so then they drive. There's this big barricade with dudes all over it with guns and flamethrowers. And there's the big shootout. And Johnson, again, sorry, I'm just gonna call her Melanie Griffith because we're all gonna get confused. So yes. Melanie Griffith has a gun out the window and she's shooting people, and Don Johnson, sorry, Treadwell is going, oh my God. And so they get through and he's like, what were all those? And she's like, oh, they're just freaks that are bored. They hang out there looking for action. It's immature. Okay, so we had that scene. So then they drive, and then in the morning they park at a big rock quarry. Another thing that I like that this movie does is it uses astounding natural locations.
The location scouts made this movie. This is entirely, they need an Oscar for location scouting for them to do this movie as cheaply as they did with as much interesting stuff going on. Yeah. I mean, they're geniuses.
First of all, one of the things that kind of hit home for me is this was shot at the Grand Canyon.
Okay.
Whoa.
I mean, not the whole thing, but a great majority of this was all shot in Arizona, and a lot of it's at the Grand Canyon, and a lot of it is all at the Colorado River. Generally, before pandemic, I hiked the Grand Canyon with my father every year. So watching this movie, I'm like, oh, I miss those post-apocalyptic raiders. I miss the gunfights and the Mustangs crashing through Glen Canyon.
You and your dad know how to have a good time.
You do. You do. But anyway, I agree with you, Jules. The location scouts deserve an Oscar. And there's a problem sometimes with film, whereas you go to these astounding locations and it is so easy to make them look uninteresting.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't do that with this. The locations really do sell it. So they're there at this rock quarry, hanging out. Treadwell is listening to tapes from his robot girlfriend of them having sex, and it is purposefully the most ridiculous stuff. It's just like Cherry 2000 saying like, do it faster, touch me, faster, faster. Is that your hand? Faster. And Melanie Griffith is kind of listening on. And then they hear some stuff going on, and then they look over and they look through a telescope, and they see these guys across the quarry. These guys in what looks like, I don't know,
Wonder Bread van. Oh well, it's supposed to be a Wonder Bread van. I mean, it's not Wonder Bread, but it's supposed to be.
Yeah, but all the people, their uniforms kind of look like 1960s WASP Florida vacation wear. Like, and they're harassing some guy in the van, and then they throw him in the van off the cliff to fall to his death. And Melanie Griffith goes, "Oh, that's Lester. He's the judge, jury, executioner of these parts. We're going to take a detour." And Treadwell's like, "Oh, that sounds good to me." So then they drive around to Glen Canyon Dam, which is the dam of the Colorado, between Lake Mead and the Colorado River. And then Melanie Griffith says, "We're going to take a shortcut." And they start driving down a hill and getting into gunfights with all of Lester's people. And then a crane with a giant car magnet goes over, picks up the Mustang, and starts carrying it. And then Treadwell and Melanie Griffith start going on the outside of the car, shooting everybody. And they shoot the operator of the crane, and then Melanie Griffith throws a cable on the Mustang and attaches it to the magnet. And the crane tries to drop the car in the Colorado River, but it can't because it's attached to the cable, and it kind of goes down a drainage tube in Glen Canyon Dam. Did I get this right, everybody?
That's as good as we're going to get it. That's as good as we're going to get it. Because that scene, none of it was making much sense.
There had to be a simpler way, is what I was like. This can't be them. There has to be a simpler way to do this, guys. It's the year 2017.
It's 2017, everybody.
I mean, come on.
And Melanie Griffith said, Treadwell says to her, like,
fuckery here.
Yeah. So Treadwell says to her, have you done this before? And she's like, yeah, but it's never been this easy. Ha ha ha. So now the car is.
Can I stop you there? And can we talk a little bit about Melanie Griffith's voice?
Sure.
How it's this sultry thing, like when she was younger, she was like
talking about Melanie Griffith's voice. I'm gonna throw you to the buzzards.
Ooh.
It's reminiscent of Marilyn Monroe. I mean, it's like
it's really breathy.
Have you ever done this before? Yeah.
Now, John,
it's like, what is that?
I realize that stepping to Melanie Griffith for Ray is similar to any of you stepping to BD Wong for me. So,
I understand.
I'm going to
I'm walking on thin ice here.
John, that's just my everyday voice, and that's just Melanie Griffith's everyday voice.
That's your everyday voice, but it isn't Melanie Griffith's everyday voice.
Thanks, John.
I'm gonna say here, and I do apologize, I don't think Melanie Griffith pulls this role off. I really don't think she does. I'm not making fun of her voice.
Oh, yeah,
let me make my case with this. That it is after this, and almost actually before this scene, I don't think she's strong enough throughout the film. Like, she comes off as a proto Imperator Furiosa kind of thing, you know. Jules, everybody, we've all seen Fury Road. Like,
I haven't.
You haven't seen Fury Road?
No, I haven't.
Whoa. In any case,
I know. Yeah.
I've seen Thunder Road, the music video by Bruce Springsteen.
I haven't seen that either.
Pop culture Jules, that's what we call him right here. But I feel like they set up E. Johnson very well, and she's pretty badass. Yeah, I get what you're saying about Melanie Griffith's voice, John. Just don't watch any Melanie Griffith films then. That's her damn voice. That's how she does it.
I think she does well, but like many humans, she just has bad taste in men or a woman.
I just feel that like she falls apart very.
That's not her voice. Reason. That's not her voice since she's been with Don Johnson. Is all I'm saying.
Oh.
Well, maybe she had to yell at him a lot, and it ruined her voice.
You're right. That's what I think.
Well, only
I
Melanie
think you're onto something, Ray. I think it was a shitty husband, and she had to be like, "Wow."
Antonio Banderas picked up the slack there.
He did. He was like, soothed her soul.
I'm going to pay a big compliment to Melanie Griffith. She is with the highest quality third spouse out of anybody in history. Nobody has landed better than her the third time around than Melanie fucking. Her third husband is Antonio Banderas. Jesus Christ! Give her an award for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, she
wait, hold on. Who are her husbands? Don Johnson, Antonio Banderas. Who's the second husband?
Was Lou Diamond Phillips. No, I don't.
You're bringing us bad luck, John. Do not say Lou Diamond's name in vain. Now, Let's get
Let me
back.
look up the second husband. Oh man.
Steve Bauer. She was married to Don Johnson twice, actually.
Is that
Oh my God.
Okay, she was married to
Wow,
Don
like
Johnson.
10 years later.
Wait,
Oh, you're right.
Wait,
What?
I gotta go through
God.
this. This is funny.
Wait,
This is
was
Oh
funny.
my God.
Give me the
Everybody,
floor.
was she married to David Andrews and thought he was Don Johnson?
That's
No.
quite possible.
That was
Married
the
Don
scheme.
Johnson.
People wake up. That's what this movie was about. Was a scheme to get everybody to believe
She
that
married
this guy was Don Johnson.
Technically, Don Johnson was her third marriage because she marries him for a second time after Steve Bauer before she marries Antonio Banderas.
That's right.
Don
She was
Johnson.
married. She was married to Don Johnson first from 1976 to 1976, which is a podcast in itself. And
I did
then she
that.
was
Yeah, her first time around it only lasts less than a year, but the second time she marries him, it lasts a long time, right until she meets Antonio Banderas in 1996.
And that
Surprise.
she
Treat your
cast
woman
it out.
right, or she'll find a Latino lover who'll treat her much better.
Mhm.
and they're divorced. I didn't know that. Her and Antonio Banderas broke up in 2015. Yeah, sorry to say. After 20 glorious years.
Oh, 20.
They know what happens. They know what happens in 2017.
And that's her second Latin lover. Steve Bauer is a Cuban-born actor.
Oh, is he? Ooh.
I don't know if I can go on
Let
with
me
this
look him up.
podcast now.
Feisty lady. I know, right?
If Melanie Griffith and Antonio Banderas can't keep it together, then what chance do any of us have?
It's true. Not a chance in hell.
Even Lou Dime.
Not a
You know,
chance in the seventh.
Lou Diamond Phillips has been
district.
married 8 times.
I can't wait to see who her fifth husband is. It's going to be like Brad Pitt.
Or John Carrier.
Oh, wow. It could be John.
Cheers
All
to
right.
that.
All right, we're getting back into this. So they then climb out of the Ford Mustang, which is hanging down a drainage pipe, and then they slip. Like Treadwell slips and he drops his bags, and they hit Melanie Griffith, and they all water slide down, and they fall down into the bottom, right at the bottom of the Colorado River. Which I'm going to say right then, when they did that, if they were shooting on location, that water is like 32 degrees. So that's dangerous. But anyway, so
no, they artfully cut between the studio cuts of them being in a pitch black studio of water hitting them and the footage in that particular place.
okay.
They do a really good job. I mean, the technical people in this, given the budget they had, they did a very good job with what they had, I have to say. I don't want to make excuses for this thing, but they did a good job.
Thank you. So Treadwell and Melanie Griffith are there in the water, and there's some guy in a raft, and he pulls a rifle on them, and she's like, "Don't shoot!" And he says, "Oh, it's you, Melanie Griffith. I almost shot your boyfriend here." And she's like, "He's my client." Okay. And there's this grizzled old prospector looking guy, and they go to his cave, which is filled with like jukeboxes and wacky knickknacks and lots of toaster ovens, because we are now going to make a very clear analogy between a toaster and a sex robot. They will now make this analogy many times.
Is this where Battlestar Galactica got it from? I'm only bringing this up because of Kate Vernon. I mean, it's
yeah.
relevant.
6 degrees to Dangerous Touch right there.
Yeah.
It goes from Cylons to Kate Vernon to Dangerous Touch. So they then hang out in his pad, and he's like, "You sure got a lot of toasters here." "Of course I do." "Do they work?" "Why would I have them if they didn't work? You can bake things, you can broil things, and they cook a rattler up just great." And he pulls out a little tray, and there's a baked rattlesnake. And they all start eating the rattlesnake. Treadwell is dubious about doing so, but he eats it a little bit. And that's when their savior pulls off his glove, and on his hand there's only 2 fingers. And he goes, "You're six finger Jake." And he's like, "Yep, I heard you were dead." No.
Something about the scene reminds me of John Carrier, and I think it's because John is also a secret badass with a vigilante background.
Well, tell you what,
John
that's a poorly kept
John is also retired and also lives in a cave and also eats snakes out of a toaster oven. So yeah.
Yeah, something about this man just reminds me of John. I don't know.
John,
I can't shake it.
You grow a beard and you instantly turn into a man of mystery and intrigue.
Tell me about it. I grew this thing when I was 15 years old.
I remember.
There's something about the scene just like screams John to me. I don't know.
I tell you, you grow a beard and you fall into espionage schemes like nobody's business all the time. All the time, I'm falling into the schemes of super spies and corporations.
Right.
Goes with the beard, everybody. Goes with the beard.
It does. Like, yeah. People just assume once you grow a beard, people just assume you spend your nights like, at cocktail parties, like, spying on Russians and shit.
Yeah, not at like comic book conventions and Magic the Gathering.
No.
Right. Playing D&D.
Yeah. And in this scene, we establish that Six-Fingered Jake is Melanie Griffith's uncle and mentor. At some point, he says, "Oh, you're going into Sector 7."
Uncle?
So,
yeah, it's her uncle.
Oh, I missed that part.
Totally Uncle Jake. But he says,
"Wait, was that an honorific?" That's.
I don't know. I assume.
No, that's what she said, and then we find out he's Six-Fingered Jake.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, what's gonna be my uncle?
Okay. But he does say, "Oh, I'd rather chew razor blades than tittle about in Sector 7 in the daytime." And you're like, "Oh, she got that from him." Okay. Mm-hmm. And so then he starts talking about, well, that's when Melanie Griffith asks Jake, "So what is Anaheim like?" And he's like, "Oh, it's terrible. Everyone's fake. They have to sign contracts and give evidence."
Does he actually explain it? Does he?
He explains a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I really spaced out a lot on that stuff because I was just like, I can't. I was just like, yeah, I was just tuning out, I guess.
He does mention it.
Okay, all right.
And then Melanie Griffith says, "I would never put up with that." And then Treadwell starts talking about his robot lover, Cherry. And she gets really mad and storms off. She's like, "Well, at least I'm a real woman," and walks away. And this is the part where I'm like, we're not built to this at all.
We did not.
There's no building to her attraction to Treadwell or her anger at his robot girlfriend. It really comes out of nowhere. I mean, it's not Melanie Griffith's fault. You agree? You agree with me, Jules? Does anyone else agree with me?
No, it's not. It's not her fault because
it was pivotal. It was pivotal to the message of the story.
Clear that she has some chemistry with Treadwell, and he's just clueless.
Well, sure, I get. Oh, I don't know.
Because they tried to do that, I guess, through his awkward lines, which are just like boilerplate action movie lines, where it's like, "Oh, those friends of yours," or something. You know what I mean? Like, just like nonsense that like doesn't add up.
He's definitely checking out Melanie Griffith like throughout the film.
I don't know, Ray. I was one of the things.
I was blindsided by the scene.
I mean, were we all checking out Melanie?
Yeah, we were. But here, and I'm going to we're taking this pin out of here now. This is that pin
yes.
Earlier. And my point is that this is just like freaking Mystery Date. I hate this. Like, we're supposed to be like, "Oh, this clueless guy, he doesn't know what he has right next to him. Melanie Griffith." Like,
but yeah, why is he interested in him?
And poor Melanie Griffith can't get this guy to notice her. And he's got like bombshell supermodel Melanie Griffith right there. Like,
I know. And you would think that this doesn't actually exist.
To be fair,
this is honestly in my life every single fucking day. So you think that men are actually not fucking like this, but I can give you the names of several men that are just like Sam Treadwell that I've been on dates with.
You know, I'd like to note, Ray, you and I have worked side by side for nigh on 10 years now. Ray, I just noticed you for the first time.
Are you ready for your mystery date?
Were you the one that sent the perfume?
Good night, everybody.
So do people know what's going on with that? Ray, somebody's been sending Ray perfume, and she doesn't know who it is. And she went on a date this weekend, and it wasn't that guy. It
wasn't him.
It's a mystery date.
Yeah.
Steamy, scandalous stuff going on here.
Yeah.
And I for one demand answers. I want to know who this person is.
This dangerous podcast is heating
up. You know why I
think
it is?
We got 3 choices. We got 3 choices. We've got Connecticut, Massachusetts, Japan. That's all. That's all we can narrow it down to.
We got to talk about that for a minute.
That's all we know about. That's all we know.
We got to talk about that.
Okay.
All right. So Jules and I have been looking at some analytics, and for our little podcast we got going here, and surprising to some, maybe not me, maybe not Jules, but we have maybe 7 times the listenership in just Tokyo, not Japan, just Tokyo, than we do in the whole state of Massachusetts. We are killing in Japan. We're like Godzilla there.
Yeah.
I don't know what is going on, but
the whole country needs to shut down during this 2 hours.
They might be. And it might be because it's 4 in the morning there.
This is the morning in Japan, by the way, which this is like your morning zoo kind of thing that you do. I don't know. I mean, just extrapolating here.
We're like Howard Stern. They listen to us on their way to work.
Yeah.
I remember this story about a remote African village where the entire town would pitch in to buy gasoline and a generator and a television. And once a week they would fire up the generator and turn on the television. And the whole town would get around and watch it. And what they were watching was Baywatch. Now, the entire island nation of Japan has far more resources. And all of them are being spent to make sure that every will not miss a minute of Dangerous Podcast. You remember 2 episodes back when I think it was episode 7 when we did Fateful Findings and we were about an hour late. The economy of Japan dropped dramatically.
And they're sticklers about that.
Tailspin. Right.
Okay. Let's get back to this now.
Can I just say hi to my friend John Skinnon?
Hey, John.
John. Hi, John.
Hey.
Boom.
What's up, Skin Flute?
Oh.
Go ahead.
All right.
That's what we call him. We call him Skin Flute.
Can we get back to this film? Because there's, in fact, a lot more to get through.
Yeah. There's a whole
lot.
Much to Andrew's chagrin, yes. Let's get back to it.
Okay. So, now, they're hanging out there. We developed that Melanie Griffith is really mad that Treadwell wants his robot lover when she's right there.
Right. And this is all news to us.
And maybe Melanie is just really pent up and, she knows that there's some natural chemistry between her and Treadwell. And she's just,
Why didn't they show us the natural chemistry between the 2 of them? They should have showed us that. They needed to show us that. Other than a guy hiring a woman to do a job and she does it, which is all we see. I mean, I guess she's relatively friendly in the...
She's nice enough to him.
Yeah, I guess there's some shots of like...
I mean, she's way out of his fucking league, but, whatever.
It's freaking Ethan.
Can we all agree that this is like I've never been so hot for Melanie Griffith in any movie. This is like I am.
Me too, man. She's
What?
so hot in this film.
That's what I'm saying. She is so hot in this movie, more than any other. I've never been attracted to Melanie Griffith in any way, except for this movie. God damn.
She's really hot.
She
in this
brings it home and cooks you the bacon in this movie.
Let me put it this way.
The rattlesnake, John. The rattlesnake.
Guys, he's
telling
pulling
you.
off that look that Mila Jovovich did in Fifth Element.
I was thinking that's
Way
what I would
early.
compare it to, right?
I don't mean with all the skin.
Gosh,
like-
I need to find a picture.
Yeah, let's throw up a picture.
We should have a picture of me in high school. It looks a lot like
guys, we have to move on. We have to.
There's a lot of.
Hang on one
movie left to
second.
go.
Can I share a picture of Ray in high school?
I'm gonna just send it to you, John. Give me a
got one.
minute.
You guys work on that while I get through the plot of this
Yes.
movie.
But
So the next that night, they have to go and try to get the Mustang. She says, "We got to go. I got to go flush out the Mustang." And so they all kind of go out, and are going up a trail. This is Johnson, Treadwell, and Six Finger Jake. And that's when the Lester's people throw on a floodlight and find her. There's a gunfight. Melanie Griffith and Six Finger Johnson are shooting it out with the bad guys. And then Treadwell gets knocked on the head with a 2x4. And then he wakes up in a place called...
That was a bizarre transition. I just have to say, that was just like, I don't even know what movie I'm watching, because it was
like
yeah.
boom!
And then like different movie. We're in a different movie now.
Interesting movie. And so he wakes up in Sky Ranch, which the way I'm going to describe this is this guy Lester, who plays Lester. Lester is played.
I've seen, but I feel like I've seen that guy before, but I don't know who he is.
Yeah, who is he? I'm looking through the Can somebody look up the IMDb right now while I am?
I'm doing it.
Thank you. So I can just keep moving on. So anyway, this is Lester's compound. He's the big villain of the film. And he's set up this kind of super futuristic domed city, but it's super future, but it's also totally run down. And but it's set up like a Boca Raton retirement community. There's shuffleboards and lawn chairs, and the way that they set up this villain is kind of interesting. He's kind of like this psycho self-help guru. He's big, he's buff, he's manic, but he's pleasant. And Treadwell encounters his ex-girlfriend, who's now living here. I swore she was the girl from the bar.
No.
She wasn't. I'm making that up.
No. Different.
Yeah. No, yeah, wait, yeah.
I think the girl at the bar was like some girl you had like a one-night stand with or something.
Okay, maybe. Anyway, all right, then I'm going to move on. It's his ex-girlfriend, Charlene.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, Charlene, what are you doing here?" She's like, "That's not my name anymore. It's Ginger." And Ginger's fantastic. She's just this weird as hell character. She's like playing this psychotic, like June Cleaver, sorry. Or just this 1960s housewife. And she just is. Can someone explain this character? I'm not doing well. Like, can someone explain what Ginger is like in this film? No.
She's like the ultimate like, leader's like ideal like wife. She's very like exuberant, but kind of like she knows it's kind of like a scam. I mean, she's not super happy about making sandwiches for everybody in the cult, but she really wants to get her ex in on the goods because she's clearly a little bored, but she's the top of the food chain in this cult. You know, she's got it together.
She's the main girl of Lester. And so we meet Lester, and he's in his polo shirt and jean and white dress pants and his boat shoes. He's like, "Hey, Treadwell, good to meet you. Welcome here. Oh, this is a great place. Look at these people we just caught. We're going to put them in jail. Excellent. Have a good night." And so that night they have a cookout. They're flipping burgers. They're all eating food. And there's this one squirrely guy who is a prisoner. And he starts grilling him about, so what were you doing here? Oh, well, I was just driving. I'm a golfer. I was going to be in a tournament. It's like, really? What were all those guns you had in your golf club bag? He's like, oh, well, I had it for protection. And what about those batteries you had in your car? He's like, I know what you are. You are a tracker, and I have no business with trackers. And so then he very goofily has them send over a paper bag with a target on it. And says, put it on your head. Don't tear it. Everybody help him out. Help him out. And they put it on him. And then they take him out and they chain him to a wall while he is crying and screaming. And Lester is going to shoot him in the head. And then he's like, no, he says, I don't understand what this means. I have too much club for this guy. And then he takes a compound bow and arrow. And he then bullseye shoots this guy in the head. I don't know about you guys. I thought this was a horrific scene.
Yeah, it's gruesome.
It was just like
this is where the tone problems start, because there's things like that, and then at this point they decide to be way more goofy actually from now on.
Yeah.
Than they were earlier, so it gets confusing. I just looked up Lester's IMDb listing. There's no way to make sense of it. This guy has worked more than anybody in Hollywood, so we've all seen him a million times on a million TV shows and a million movies.
Okay.
None of which rise to the point at which you can remember any of them. But he's been... This guy works, is what I'm saying.
Okay. He was good. I liked him.
Lieutenant Phillips.
Lieutenant Phillips is working all the
He's
damn
got
time.
nothing compared to this guy. Nothing compared to this guy.
Right.
So, that night, Treadwell is talking to Ginger, and he's like, "That guy's a psycho," and she's like, "I'm not going to get sucked into your narrative." And she's like, "You should stay here. It's really good here. And besides, if you want to get out, there's 3 layers of razor wire, and there's no water to be had. I think you should stay." So that night, he kind of breaks out, and and then he's confronted by a guard who he then sucker punches again. No, he doesn't sucker. Yeah, he does. He sucker punches him, and then Melanie Griffith shows up. And with the Mustang, or they steal the Mustang back, and she says, "Yeah, I came back for you. Me and Jake had to come on mules. It was hard." So they then they reconnect with Six Finger Jake. Treadwell runs out. He starts throwing gasoline on all their other vehicles, throws gasoline in their beehive, because they have a beehive here at Sky City or Sky Ranch. And then they set it up and they leave as everything explodes, and there's big explosions, and they're leaving. And then Lester, he tries to save the beehive, and they get stung by a bunch of bees, and he's like, "Oh, you Treadwell," and he's sad. So Melanie Griffith, Treadwell, and Six Finger Jake escape in the Mustang. And we see earlier, Six Finger Jake hands the drive with the chip for Cherry 2000 to Melanie Griffith. So she's got it. She's not saying she's got it, but she's got it.
Yeah, baby, she's got it.
Got it. And at some point, Treadwell says, "Wait, where's all my stuff?" She's like, "We lost it on the other mule." He's like, oh, like, I don't know what the point is to get another Cherry 2000 without the chip. I mean, that was her personality. Personality means everything, at least to me. Okay. So then they stop somewhere to chill out. Johnson goes off somewhere to do something. And then Melanie Griffith and Treadwell, she's comforting him because he's lost the chip to Cherry 2000. They start making out and groping, and they're about to have sex on the sand. And then Melanie Griffith's hip bumps onto something, and it starts playing Cherry's sex dialogue.
Right.
John, and so, Jules, you there?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes, I am.
And
No, I was saying that the entire point, apparently, of her not wearing a bra in this movie is a scene thing.
yeah,
I agree.
it's pretty hot. Now, at that point, Treadwell jumps up. He's like, "You had the chip all the time. Why didn't you tell me?" And she's like, "I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you would appreciate a real woman who's right here." And he's like, "But you lied to me. You've been saying stuff about Cherry this whole time, but at least she never lied." And, okay, there you go. So then they're all mad at each other. And then they drive to this kind of gas station junkyard area. And they meet this guy, Skippy, who's kind of another old guy who has this like 18-year-old girlfriend who's giving him no end of grief. And he's like, "Oh, Melanie Griffith and Jake, you're alive. I thought you were dead. Just retired. Ha ha ha." Okay. And then they're all hanging out and talking, and Melanie Griffith's mad, and she sees this old like propeller plane. And she's like, "We're gonna fix this, and we're gonna fly over there, and we're gonna get you your robot girlfriend." He's like, "You're never gonna fix this. This engine is all blown out. I used to fly one of these things in the Border Wars." They set up that he fought in the Border Wars. That's why he's a badass. But he flew a plane. Why would he be good at just like literally? So they've got that weird guy who's in a lot of bad movies, which we thankfully have not seen. A lot of bad movies that we haven't seen. That guy with the chin is in a lot of bad movies. Oh, is that the guy that like that Treadwell beat up? Yes, he beats him up. And when you cast that guy in a movie, it's like a weird like James Bond Jaws character. Like he's like this giant hulking weird guy that just kicks your ass, and he just dispatches him like nothing. Yeah, like throughout the entire movie, like that's what's happening the entire movie, and it's so weird. It's such a weird decision because it just takes. There's just like no stakes to anything happening in the movie because he's just so good at just every single time he can just pick up a gun and just kill everybody or beat them up or the rest of it. Why does he need Melanie Griffith? He could just take his 3-wheel car out there. He's putting his he could have a propeller beanie on this 3-wheel car and go out into the middle of the post-apocalyptic wilderness and just kick everybody's ass. Apparently, I mean that's what's being established by this film. He's got grit. And Ray and everybody, the biggest crime that I think this film commits is that from this point on, honestly, from even before Sky Ranch, Melanie Griffith is continually showed up. They put him in the role of the hero. They make him be the badass. Melanie Griffith still kicks some ass, but he's the guy who's jumping out, grabbing grenades, throwing them back. Like, I mean, I think that's why Melanie Griffith is falling in love. Maybe, but I feel it cuts Melanie Griffith down at the knees. I agree. She's supposed to be this super badass road warrior, like leading him into the desert, and he's just like, "Actually, I'm good at everything." Yeah, realizing the obvious that you're way cooler than Cherry 2000. I have problems with this quote unquote Mary Sue thing. People get angry at anyway. Yeah. But she is the Mary Sue of this movie. Yes, he is. He's definitely Mary Sue. Except for everybody doesn't like him though necessarily, right? No, not everybody likes him, I guess. But anyway, that's important. So they're over, and Melanie Griffith's like, "Can you get the plugs out of the Mustang? I'm gonna fix this plane." And so meanwhile, Skippy gets a call from Lester, who's like, "We're looking for these 3 people. They blew up Sky Ranch." And then and Skippy's girlfriend says, "Lester, we've got them right here." And okay. And then Melanie Griffith gets the plane working. She gets the plane working. Fantastic. They're about to take off. And Skippy tries to keep them there. He's like, "We got mac and cheese. Who wants lunch? Who wants lunch?" And Gunnar, so what do you say? Also, where did this incel-ass business exec get combat skills do that? Like he's been doing it all his life. That's a good question. Thank you, Gunnar. Thank you, Gunnar. That's a very good question. I say he learned in Border Wars, but Anyway,
in a plane. It's like saying like Tom Cruise is gonna hop out in Top Gun and just like beat everybody up. Maybe that's what's happening in the next movie. We don't know, but
yeah, we've got Top Gun.
I'm just saying it's implausible.
Yeah, in Top Gun 2, 2 Shades of Blue, we may see him fighting like Korean soldiers hand to hand. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so now that's when Skippy shoots Six-Fingered Jake. Like shoots him, and then the girl shoots him in the head, and then Melanie Griffith and Treadwell, they run, they get in the plane, and she's like, use those legs, Treadwell, and then he jumps in the plane and they fly away. And then Lester comes back and he's like, Skippy, and this is where they kind of play in that whole like psycho self-help guru kind of thing. He's like, I'm feeling anger, I'm feeling aggression, and I don't like it. I don't like feeling this way. He's like, well, I got one of them. He's dead right there. I killed Jake. And he's like, I wanted them alive. And then the girlfriend starts getting all up in Lester's business. She's like, hey, Lester, why don't we go and have dinner? I made mac and cheese. By the way, we killed that guy. What happened to your face? And he's like, you need an attitude adjustment, and shoots her in the face.
Yeah.
Again, it's like, whoa, this got dark real fast. So then, yeah.
Albert sums it up there.
Yeah.
So, I could. Well, let's read it because for the audio, all the awesome things about you are what make me so goddamn hot for myself.
And there
So now they're flying, and then Melanie Griffith, I will say, has a pretty decent line right here where he's like, let's just turn it in. Who cares? We're not going to go get this body. I don't want to do that. And she goes, no, we have to. This has to be a job. I have to do this job. Otherwise, what was the point? Why did we come out here? Why did Jake get all shot up? We're doing this job.
That's a way to like excuse the fact that the movie could have ended there. It's essentially because he should have, because sensibly he would have not cared at that point, I guess. He would have snapped out of it, and he would have not cared about his robot girlfriend anymore.
This is my same problem in Rollerball, when Jonathan E. tells the executives, here are my demands, and they arbitrarily don't do it. Anyway, so they're flying, they're going to Vegas. All right, they're going to the robot graveyard, which is apparently Las Vegas. They go there. I'm going to go through the scene really fast. They go there. Lester's people are on their trail. They jump in there. And here's one of the few times this movie actually does a good job of paying off the things that they set up. But one of the ones that they don't is earlier in the film, Melanie Griffith says, when we get to the robot graveyard, you're going to have 15 minutes at the max. There are going to be sirens. There's going to be gunshots. There's going to be rockets. You have no idea. You have 15 minutes. They get there. There's nothing. There is no. If Lester's people weren't involved on their trail, they could spend 40 weeks in that place, and there would have been no problems. But anyway, so they rappel down into the robot graveyard, and they start going through things, and they find a Cherry 2000. Treadwell puts in the chip. She wakes up. She's like, Sam, I missed you so much. Kiss me. And then Lester's people break in. There's a big gunfight. I like this next bit. I don't know if you do. I love how absolutely just bland Cherry 2000 is throughout all of these scenes.
Yeah, because that's kind of a switcheroo, because they made her slightly weird in the beginning of the movie, but not that weird. Yeah. It was plausible so that she was a person, but to serve the plot, they just made her just like literally like Tamagotchi or something, like just like spurting out nonsense constantly.
Well, she's been, out of her body for a while.
I don't know.
That's not the way.
That's not the way this works.
That's not the way robots.
Not the way this works. Not the way the world works.
No. Yeah. But no matter what, I mean, what they're trying to do right here is give you an accurate example of this is a robot and this is Melanie Griffith. And so, like in the gunfight, but there are some really amusing scenes. Like in the gunfight, they're they're all pinned down by gunfire from the villains, and every time Treadwell gets up to shoot his Uzi, she kind of just gets up and starts brushing dust off his jacket.
Mhm.
It's amusing. But anyway, they get out of there. And again, but this is where it is absolutely unforgivable. Like the big scene where Treadwell repels
Mhm.
up or gets out of the compound, and there's Lester there. It's Treadwell who machine guns Lester when it absolutely should have been Melanie Griffith. Like all of the hero moments in these scenes are
I agree.
Treadwell.
Yeah.
And I think it's unforgivable. So
And then he doesn't die. You just like
yeah.
And so when he does finally die in a couple scenes later, I'm just like confused. I'm just like, is he dead? I don't know.
Yeah. So
you just shoot at him and he just lives. I mean, I don't know.
We'll get to that. So now so then Treadwell and Melanie Griffith and Cherry 2000, they run to the plane, they get in the plane and they start going, but they can't take off. And Melanie Griffith says, "We're too heavy." Really? This is a 4-seater plane. The 4-seater plane. And she's like, "I'll jump out. I'll make my way. You go." And then Treadwell's like, "No, Melanie Griffith, no, don't do it." And then she does, and he doesn't notice, and they take off. And Treadwell turns around and goes, "We did it, we did it." And then he realizes that Melanie Griffith isn't there, and there's only Cherry. And this ain't the Cherry remembers. She's just not as cool because he's been around a real woman. And so then Cherry 2000, Melanie Griffith, she's down there, she's fighting off the villains, she gets in a junk pile, she's gonna get machine gunned to death, and then Treadwell flies back down, lands, Melanie Griffith, and starts shooting out the window, shooting out at the villains. Melanie, and he says to Cherry, "Sweetie, can you go out and get me a Pepsi?" And she's like, "A Pepsi? Okay," and gets out and wanders away. And then he calls for Melanie Griffith to jump in the plane. And then he uses her line again. He's like, "Use those legs, Johnson." And so then she jumps in the plane and they take off. And Melanie Griffith is machine gunning guys now. And then you've got Lester, who's still alive. He takes his rappelling rope, throws it on the landing gear of the plane. He gets pulled up. He's going to trap and kill them. And then he gets smashed into a statue of a showgirl from Los Angeles and then dies there. Right,
he does have extra HP.
Yep. Now we know he's dead. We know he's dead because of another very odd moment, which I actually really like, is Ginger, who is, I feel, the MVP of the film. all of the scenes, Ginger keeps going to Lester and saying, "Would you like a sandwich? We made the sandwiches. You shouldn't go out, kill people on an empty stomach," and stuff like that. So then she gets out, she's got the sandwiches. She goes over and she goes to everybody and goes, "Sandwiches?" And then one of the goons goes, "What are you talking about? Lester's dead." And looks up at the and she goes, "Well, no sandwiches." And sits down and starts eating a sandwich and gives Cherry 2000 a sandwich. And she starts eating the sandwich. And then you cut up.
But I thought Cherry 2000 didn't eat. I thought she didn't eat because she served him dinner and didn't eat anything. I assumed because she's a robot, she doesn't eat.
Oh, no, she doesn't. She opens up the sandwich and goes, "Pretty."
Yeah, okay.
So then we end with Melanie Griffith and Treadwell up in the plane, making out, roll credits. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was Cherry 2000.
Yeah.
Cherry 2K.
Now,
No. You know that the 90s remake of Cherry 2000 is called Cherry 2K. Tom, sorry, I cut you off.
Now, was this a bad movie? I didn't think this was a bad movie at all.
I don't.
You don't think this is a bad movie?
All right. Here's where I'm going to go with this. It is fun. At the very least, it is the most fun film we've watched here. That includes Mystery Date.
You're welcome.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not saying it's perfect, and I'm not saying it has problems, but it is
a fun movie. No, for sure. Do you remember the at the beginning the guy with the robots, and in the background they had the robot from Danger Lost in Space, and
Oh no, that was the
right.
Forbidden Planet robot was there.
Forbidden-
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking.
That's Robbie the Robot, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I think the film, one, has a sense of humor about itself. I think it had a strong visual direction. I don't mean to take your words out of your mouth, Jules, but I think where you're going to go with this is it did not think itself through. It just kind of made decisions along the way, and I'm not disputing that. But I at least, this is the few times, is this the only time me and John Carrier are agreeing?
Oh yeah, that's true. That is
Wow.
Staggering occurrence. A staggering occurrence.
I'm saying I had fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was not like it didn't insult anybody. It did not think itself through.
Mm-hmm.
But at least in its internal scene, it was logical to itself.
For an 80s movie, it was a 9 out of 10.
I see that's an 80s movie. No way. See, that's one of my problems. Is I kind of assumed this film was 1976. It had a very 1976
No, I would disagree with you. I mean, you need to watch more 70s movies, I think.
I've watched
70s
a lot
movies.
of 70s
All
films.
right, okay, fair enough. No, 70s movies to me. No, I thought it was an 80s movie, and I thought it was a very good 80s movie. It was a fun movie.
I just want to point out, not to be argumentative, but I want to point out the Raiders of the Lost Ark was 1981.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying,
wow.
1981. And so I'm saying that the idea that they were all fumbling around like cavemen with the bare materials of narrative here and couldn't do something. This movie.
Jules. What
were you going to say?
I'm going to meet halfway here.
Okay.
I don't think it's particularly good.
Yes.
But I do think it is enjoyable that it had that they
and
knew.
I'm going to put my finger on exactly what we miss about these movies.
Yep.
What we miss about these movies is the fact that it was so half-assed and bizarre that there was novelty to it. Is what it boils down to, because we don't get that anymore unless, and you could speak to this, Ian, because I mean, unless it's a previous property, unless it's a book, unless it's a young adult book, or unless it's a comic book, we do not get a weird movie. That's what it boils down to. Yeah. We do not get why would anybody do this? What is going on here? And then we get sucked into it, and it's like, well, that's kind of fun. We missed this of this kind of just why would anybody build this world? What is going on? But it's fun, and who cares? I know I miss it. I definitely miss it. So I'm not sitting here saying I'm not dead inside. There is some part of me that really wants to love this movie, but it's kind of it's just
part of you that has a heart.
A thing that we don't realize is that Jules is in fact a 2017 robot.
That's right.
Let's throw him in some Detroit. Let's throw him in a bubble bath and see what happens. So what I'm curious about here is, one of the things I wanted to do for a long time is I wanted to go through our past movies that we watched, and I just want a clear answer from Ray. Is it sexist or not? And
this fucking film? Are you serious?
And I want to start with this one, because some of the ones you were saying, I would think you were saying was absolutely turned out you were kind of endeared by, and we're kind of no. So I just want to audit them. I want to clear.
Okay, so
right now we're going to go through them, and you're going to give a thumbs up or thumbs down, but Caesar style.
John, before we do that, and we will do that, can we get Ray's analysis of was Cherry 2000 sexist?
There's a lot of potential for this to be an empowering film for women. But no, that's a no-go.
All right, yeah.
I like this film. It's a guilty pleasure. It's a bad film that I like. Doesn't pass the Bechdel test. There's not two women having a conversation about something other than what men want or need, or the men they're interested in. It's definitely doesn't pass the Bechdel test, but I don't know. I like this film.
I was because I was thinking since you picked it, I thought it would be, but as I was watching it, it was like this does not pass.
Yeah,
Bechdel test.
This doesn't pass anything.
Not from what I'm seeing. I mean, maybe, I don't know.
No test you can devise.
It's like, who could you have been if you weren't worrying about what Sam Treadwell thought?
Okay. So this gets a thumbs down, right?
Get the thumbs down.
Yeah, but no. I mean, that's what's weird about it. It's totally weird that they get together. I'm sorry. It is totally.
I agree.
Weird.
It's totally weird, and
it's totally yeah.
It happens. This shit happens.
All right, so let's go through the past ones.
I'm telling you,
Ray's a nihilist,
and over and over again, at nauseum.
Yeah.
Okay, so
because
this gets
the truth, I thought this movie was so ridiculous. I thought this movie was so bizarre.
I agree.
That essentially, I was generally I had suspense at the end of the movie that I thought for sure he was just going to fly away with a robot. That's how bizarre this movie was. I was like, I don't even know where this is going to go because it doesn't make any emotional sense. I was just like, maybe he will. Maybe he'll just fly off with a robot because this movie doesn't. Anyways.
John is about to do a count off.
Okay. Can we just take a minute and just go through the past movies? I'm really curious for Ray to give the thumbs up or thumbs down for the past movies.
We're going to do a complete auditing. Okay.
We're going to do a complete auditing right now, really fast. We're starting with Cherry 2000. That gets the thumbs down.
Cherry 2000 thumbs down.
Okay.
We all agree, I think. Yeah.
Mystery Date?
Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs down.
Thumbs down. Okay.
Ray says thumbs down to Mystery Date.
Rollerball.
Actually, I would give that the thumbs up.
All right.
There's high society women that actually have some clout in the film.
All right. Dead Weekend. No, wait. Fateful Findings.
Double thumbs down, everybody. Thumbs down.
More than she needed. Okay. Dead Weekend. Thumbs down. Okay. Super Mario Brothers.
Up.
Super Mario Brothers with the thumbs up.
With the Koopa Queen there. The princess and the Koopa Queen have a conversation about her family and about her being an empowered woman outside of what King Koopa might have desired.
Yeah,
Ganarso just said, does Ginger offering a sandwich to Cherry count as passing the Bechdel test?
Oh. Yeah.
Oh.
Very good point. Very good point. Maybe you need to rethink that. Let's go through the rest, and then while we're doing that, you can rethink this one, and we'll remark Cherry 2000.
What about the sandwich? A good sandwich at the right time can be everything.
I will say, does Cherry 2000 count as a real woman?
Yes.
She's a robot.
She identifies as a woman. Who are you to
identify as anything? She's not sentient.
So you know what I did during this time? I went because I knew this took place in 2017. I went to Amazon and I typed in sex robot.
Oh yeah, was this the first time, John?
No, I have it. I have it bookmarked.
You have it saved in your
results. You get results from sex toys to blow up dolls to oddly Robovacs. I don't know, like robo vacuums,
if we combine them all together,
you got
ingenuity.
Right. You collect those three and you combine them together. Yeah, we need a mad scientist. All right, we got to get through this. All right, Ray. Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Is it sexist? That's a tough one. We really got to think about Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. Whether it's
Gosh, there was so much potential
remember,
in this one too.
it's
two very strong
Superman. You know, Lois Lane doesn't do the flying without Superman.
Down,
He needs
down,
him to
thumbs
fly.
down. Ray gives it a thumbs down.
I talked to her.
Cheryl points out that there are sex robots in Japan, which we should acknowledge given how much of an audience we have in Japan.
Sponsorship?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. We should have been. This should have been sponsored by a Japanese sex robot company. But
so if any of our Japanese
I'm sure that's
viewers
a mom and pop
to...
shop. I'm sure it's been there for 50 years, and I'm sure they're making a go of it.
If anybody of our viewership in Japan wants to send us a sex robot, send it to John Carrier.
So okay,
John, a few more podcast purposes only. Make it have red hair. The next one has Amanda and the Alien. Ray. Speaking of red hair,
I didn't see that one, so I can't vote.
No, you saw Amanda and the Alien. That was the first one.
I wasn't part of the podcast.
We'll take a guess.
I don't think it works that way, John.
All right, thumbs up. And
I'm probably going to say thumbs down.
Yeah, it's thumbs down, right?
It is thumbs down. Right. So the only things were a thumbs up were
wait, you forgot
Mario Brothers.
John, you forgot the most important one.
What?
Dangerous Touch.
I was getting I said that. I said
you did?
Dangerous Touch. I said a Dangerous Touch. And everyone said no, that's a
okay.
A Dangerous Touch, Ray.
I haven't seen that one either.
It's thumbs down.
Thumbs down.
It's thumbs down.
You don't need to see it. It's a thumbs down.
I'll take your word for it.
Trust us.
So, John.
There's a big joke there. Yes.
So the only two films that passed Ray's test are
Super Mario Brothers
and maybe Cherry 2000.
No, you gave it a thumbs down.
Well, I need to maybe rewatch it tonight. I hadn't watched it recently. I had recommended it.
This is a guilty pleasure. She hates to love it.
So,
like everything I hate, everything I love,
right. It's like the guys you love. You hate to love them, but you love them.
Exactly, every single time.
And John hates all of us.
No, I don't hate.
Ray hates all of us the most of all.
I don't hate all of you. Let's hear Jules' opinion, Jules' pick for next week, and then I'll start hating people.
So with that, first of all, Ray, thank you very much for bringing Cherry 2000. Once again, the standard got raised a little bit. I think this movie was just a little too good for us, but I'm glad you brought it.
Don't worry. So once it comes to me, I'll fix it. Don't you worry.
John, don't worry, because after Jules is me, and I know what I'm picking. Yeah. Jules, we've all been waiting. We've been waiting nearly a month.
Well, no. I have to give my final conclusion about this movie.
Yeah, he's got to do that.
Sure,
I got to do that because essentially there's an enormous amount of work to make the male protagonist and the MacGuffin of the movie be a sad man trying to repair a sex robot. There's a lot of work you have to do there that this movie didn't do to make it compelling. Okay, so I'm just thrown by Gnarso's question there. I don't know what to do.
Sorry, your thoughts. Gnarso said someone ordered a sex bot made in your likeness. Creeped out or flattered? Absolutely flattered.
You know what, Gnarso? It was me who ordered the sex bot made in my likeness. So definitely not creeped out.
I'm not surprised in the least, and I'm disgusted and delighted.
You know what?
There
I got
already like 4 models of Ray. There's
I'm not surprised. I'm like both delighted and disgusted at the same time because like those two emotions pretty much every day. For
You
me.
know that the Ray 2K model actually came in blonde, and you can't get that one anymore.
Hey, guys,
We're going to the
that?
desert to
Very
get that one.
blonde.
We're going to the desert. We're gonna have to
You
invest
gotta-
our lives to get that one. I mean, obviously.
I ordered the Ray High School edition. Awesome.
I'm still looking
That's
for her.
illegal. That's
I'm
illegal.
totally locked out of my MySpace. John,
Making
I'm
all these,
looking for
she's
that
making
picture.
all these bad decisions. It's great.
I'm looking through, and I'm totally locked out of my Friendster and
Side
my
of her head
MySpace
shaved.
account.
No.
Awesome.
No, what's sad about that model is that if you're not a goth, it won't sleep with you.
Well, that's the modern Ray.
Stop.
Okay, but guys, Jules,
All right.
It comes with male mascara to put on.
Yes.
Jules
As
at a
long
point
as you
to make
wear a
about
little
this
black
film.
nail polish and
Everybody.
mascara.
Take a breath. Take a breath. Let Jules finish his final thoughts.
No, so what I'm saying is that in terms of the character motivations here, it's difficult to get on board, I'm saying. And that's part of I think what actually is charming about the movie is that it's just like, obviously whoever this was pitched to, they were just like, I don't care, Melanie Griffith's in it, whatever. And they just said, yeah, fine, whatever. And it like, meanwhile, it doesn't make any sense because I mean, like, I couldn't get invested in this guy getting his sex robot back. Okay. That's what I'm saying. And so. But anyways, in terms of the question of what were you going to say?
You're saying, how did this film get made? It was because it was produced by her mother, Tippi Hedren.
Oh, it was.
It's not actually, but that's a clue as to my choice.
Oh, but that's probably my choice.
Oh, is it? Is it?
Yeah,
okay.
it
Okay,
is.
everybody.
Okay,
Jules?
I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
No, I gotta go. I gotta go. Wait.
Okay.
I gotta go.
Yes. No. Good.
Sorry, John.
Sorry, John. Sorry.
So I'm not even going to comment on this movie. I just want to like plead to Jules, but like for during my allotted time here, I just want to say like I want to remind Jules first of all, like before he announces it, like even though he might have made a decision in his head, like what he's going to pick, he doesn't have to pick that yet. Like as I've done many a times. And remember, like when I was going to do Kirk Cameron, you remember?
Yep. Yeah. No. Yeah.
I was going to do that. But what did I do? I did what was best for the show. So, and I've done it 2 times. I picked great. And I just want to say, first, another thing I want to say before I finish is, my friend Andrew listens to the show and he thinks we're too long. He can suck it. If he's made it to this part, I just want my message to Andrew. Andrew, you can suck it. This is not too long. And as a matter of fact, I'm gonna paste a speech of maybe Walter Mondale or like somebody at the end of this podcast, just so it can go on another hour.
That, we could be, early 2000s, like Chuck Norrising some of these long interludes and/or Batmaning them.
No, we just do it the way we do it.
We can use people's names as verbs, and we could break some rules.
Anyways, to finish up, Jules, I just want to say before you announce your movie for next week, that I have done what's best for the show, and I picked well, and I hope you follow that tradition.
I know what Jules is gonna pick. I know. I figured it out.
He figured it out because it's obvious. Because we need to have we can have an arc throughout our show is what it boils down to. And the arc now is going to be Melanie Griffith because that's what came to mind, and it came to my mind. I couldn't get it out of my mind.
Yeah,
and I was like, "Oh, are we going to watch this?" And I'm like, "Oh, wait, it is a bad movie apparently," and none of us have seen it. None of us have had the courage to watch it, and it exists, and it is why Melanie Griffith was disfigured. She was disfigured by a wild animal
surgery.
in this film. And this film makes no sense, and it exists, and there is no other chance that I would see it, and no chance that we would see it, and it will be entertaining to talk about, and so it is in the best interest of the show. And so I'm saying 1981's Roar is our next movie.
Oh, you took it from me, Jules. I was gonna do Roar.
I did. Yeah, okay. Yeah. That's the next one.
I'm like, I want to go into the background, Jules.
We can't get into the background. That's for that show. We have to.
Show.
There's so much there. I don't even know what to say. But yeah.
So everybody, our legions of fans, especially all of you in the great nation of Japan, get on the internet. Watch Roar. ROAR. Is there an exclamation point in the title?
I don't think so.
It's called ROAR. Oh, I thought he said war.
No.
Oh, okay.
That was a growl. Sorry. I can't roar. Anybody. So thank you for everybody. Thank you for coming tonight. Tune in next week for Roar. I'm your host, Ian Alley Seals. Everybody else, I'm here with John, Jules, and Ray. We're sorry that our fearless co-host compatriot Jason could not make it tonight, but he'll be back next week. Everybody, say goodnight. Say goodnight to your fans.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. I'm gonna
come back next week for more puppies.
I'm gonna feed you all some buzzards.
And Roar.
And Roar.
And
Come for the puppies, stay for Roar.
Was that a roar or was that a fart?
Oh, breaking my heart, Ray. Are we done, John?
We're done.
Are we ever done?
I'm putting the link for Roar in the comments if anybody wants to go.
The longer we can make this, the more it'll upset.
That's
Andrew?
Our number one fan, Andrew.
Right, because we want to find our fans and we want to punish them. So I'm putting the link to Locker if anybody wants to go there.
It was that easy.
Good night, Cheryl.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Albert.
Good night, Albert.
Good night, everybody.
We love you.
Peace.
Keep bringing the gifts. Keep surprise gifts.